Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. In January of this year, so January 2024, I made a video for the Make 9 2024 challenge. And today I'm going to go back through those Make 9 plans and see what I accomplished, see which makes I made that were successful, maybe some that I didn't get around to, and yeah, take a look at the Make 9 challenge, kind of about my experience with it, how I'm going to wrap up this calendar year with my sewing and knitting makes, maybe talk a little bit about how I'm going to approach my 2025 sewing and knitting goals as well. If you are new here, my name's Rebecca. I love making videos about sewing, knitting, all things slow fashion. So if those are interests of yours as well, please do consider hitting the subscribe button below. And let's go ahead and take a look at my Make 9 2024 results. If you're unfamiliar with Make 9 as a making challenge, it's mainly hosted over on Instagram, and the whole idea is to be really intentional about your plans for the year for your sewing and knitting makes. It's a very loosely defined challenge. There are no rules to the challenge, but it's a good way to kind of plan your intentions for what you want to create in the upcoming year. And so I have done this for a couple years actually. When I first started sewing clothing for myself, the Make 9 challenge was actually a way that I found a lot of new to me creators and independent pattern designers, both for sewing and knitting patterns. And I think that little hashtags, little Instagram challenges such as Make 9 and also Me Made May, these are really good ways to discover new people that you may have common interests with. And as I said, discover new designers, new patterns. And so, yeah, I was inspired to participate in the Make 9 challenge early in my sewing and knitting journey. And I chose to do so as well, obviously, for 2024. So I will go ahead and put a photo here of my Instagram post of my Make 9 plans. Some of these were pattern specific, some of them were more garment style or silhouette inspired or type of garment. I will briefly tell you what my goals were and also whether or not I ended up making said project. And yeah, kind of through my experience with the challenge this past year. So in no particular order, I'm just gonna follow the order of the little images that I put in my 3x3 grid. I wanted to make a long tailored skirt, and I did end up making a long tailored skirt. I chose to make the maxi skirt, which is a pattern by the Maker's Atelier. This was the first pattern of theirs that I made. I had really good experience sewing up this pattern, and I think that I did make a muslin before making my final skirt, and I don't think I made any changes, so the fit was really great for me. I will say that I think my fabric choice made the resulting skirt a little bit less than what I wanted it to be. I ordered some wool blend suiting fabric from Fashion Fabrics Club, and I really like the fabric, but I do think it's a little bit thin for kind of structured silhouette that I wanted. I think maybe a thicker wool or something that had a little bit more weight to it would have given me a more successful result. I do like the skirt that I've created. However, being on the thinner side, it's just not really the silhouette that I had intended. So I do think this is a pattern that I will revisit again in the future with a little bit of a heavier weight fabric. Next up, I decided that I wanted to make a neutral pair of linen, like trouser style shorts. I believe my intention was to use the by hand London Jackie trousers because I have made black linen pair of shorts using that pattern and just cropping it and cuffing it. I didn't get around to that, and I won't be doing that in the remainder of 2024. We are at the end of November. It's actually Black Friday today, so I don't think I'll be making a pair of linen shorts in the next month. But I do want to make a light neutral colored pair of linen trouser shorts in 2025. So that is something that I didn't get to and that I will be carrying over. It's really hard to believe that 2024 is already coming to an end. It's snowing today. Like I said, Thanksgiving was yesterday and Christmas seems to be right around the corner. So it's a good time of year to kind of reflective on past projects and also look towards the new year and everything that we're going to be pursuing creatively. My third Make 9 goal was to make a neutral lakes pullover. And by that, I mostly meant like a solid. The first lakes pullover that I made, I tried the pattern out using up some stash yarn, and I ended up doing quite chunky stripes, so like of blue and brown. I think it was actually this yarn for the blue. I had a little bit left over from this sweater, which is the Town sweater by Ozetta. And so for the lakes pullover, my first one was a little bit cropped, more than the pattern intended, as I was just using up stash yarn. And again, I also did like quite chunky stripes. So I wanted to make a neutral solid version, and I did that. I made this navy blue lakes pullover, and I used Patton's classic wool worsted for the first time. I really loved working with that yarn. And I also sized up, I think, 2 sizes. So I think the first lace pullover that I made was a small, and then subsequently this one I made a large. I just really wanted a big, bulky, oversized sweater, and that's exactly what I got. I'm very, very pleased with the result. It gets so much wear in and out of the typical season. I often wear sweaters at home in the evening year-round, and the lakes pullover basically is like a sweatshirt, but it's wool, so it's super cozy and a really successful project. Glad that I made a neutral, oversized version of that sweater. Number 4, I really wanted to make a lounge set, specifically like a long sleeve and pants lounge set. I've made a few that are shorts and tanks, and I did make one, and I think that it was sort of halfway there. It was like halfway to what I wanted it to be. I chose to sew it up with a cotton jersey from Fashion Fabrics Club that I think was like 5% cotton, 5% spandex. So it has a little bit of stretch to it. And I love the color. It's not dissimilar from the blue that I'm wearing, kind of cornflower blue. I really like that shade of blue. And I chose to use, I think it was a Simplicity pattern for the top and then Pomona pants for the bottoms. And I think the Pomona pants were really successful with a stretchy jersey fabric. I think that they work great and they're really, really comfortable. The top, I like the raglan fit and silhouette. I don't like how long it is and the fact that there's like an elastic at the bottom of the shirt. I decided to just cut that like waist gathered section off so that it hangs loose. The cotton spandex fabric isn't going to fray, so I'll probably just leave the raw edge. And for a lounge set, I say that it's like halfway successful because while it does fit and it is comfortable, the fabric with wash and regular wear has kind of pilled a little bit. It's not as soft as it was at the beginning. And I think that going forward, I'd like to make a lounge set in like 100% cotton, percent linen, not necessarily something with stretch. I just find it more comfortable and breathable, and it softens more with wash and wear, whereas something that has a little bit of spandex in it kind of like ages more quickly in my perspective. So I do like the lounge set that I made. I tried a new pattern, that raglan top that is fine. I really liked making it. It worked out. It was just a little too long, probably because it's a unisex pattern. And so, yeah, I have intention to make a woven lounge set hopefully soon. It's definitely something that I would wear in the cooler months, a long sleeve top and pants. So that's probably in my early 2025 plans. Another knitting goal that was on my Make 9 was to knit a colorful sweater. I have a very neutral wardrobe, a lot of black, cream, a lot of blue, but yeah, just a lot of neutrals, and I wanted to experiment with adding a little bit of color through my knitwear, and I did just that. I ended up making a red champagne cardigan, and it's sort of a cool red, like a deeper red as opposed to a primary red, but it definitely still adds a punch of color in my wardrobe, and I really, really love the champagne cardigan as a pattern. It's the first time that I knit a double button band, which was really tedious, but turned out really clean and professional and like beautifully finished. So I highly rate the pattern. The yarn that I used was the Hobby Friends wool, and it was the first time that I had tried that yarn. It's quite affordable, and I was actually really impressed with how soft and squishy and nice it was to work with and wear, not itchy at all. So a pattern and a yarn that I would recommend, and I love having a little punch of red in my wardrobe. It's been a lot of fun. I also had a general goal to make more trousers. If you're familiar with my content, you may know that I've made quite a few pairs of jeans, denim 100% cotton jeans, and I wanted to make a few more pairs of pants that were more trouser-like, a little bit softer, a little bit more lightweight, flowy. And I did make a couple of pairs of pants that I think fall into that category, if not specifically like a suiting fabric or a dress pant fabric. I did make a couple pairs of pants that are not denim, and so we're, heading in the right direction of diversifying my pant options. 3 pairs of linen pants. I also made a couple pairs of cotton twill pants, one that is an elasticated waist pleated pant. The fray pants I made with a cotton twill, and I really love those. And I also tried a new pattern with a white cotton twill that has a zip fly but no waistband, so it's got like a facing, and that was a new type of pant to experiment with. I will say that there's still a hole in my wardrobe for like a dress pant, a dressy pair of pants. And so I think actually that fabric that I purchased to make the maxi skirt would have been much more successful as pants. So I think a really lightweight wool blend suiting would make for great pants. And that's something I just didn't know. I hadn't sewn with that type of fabric before, but it is really slinky and kind of silky to the touch. And so I think in the future, I'll probably try to make another pair of traditionally more dressy, like trouser pants with a slinkier wool suiting fabric. Hopefully in the future, I will get around to that. But I did make quite a few pairs of pants, and I have more than just jeans in my wardrobe now. Another one that I did not get to that I'm sort of on the fence about at this point, I had on my list that I wanted to make a denim vest. I was very inspired by the men's Wrangler vests, and I saw a lot of people wearing them and layering with them in really cool, stylish ways, and I thought, ooh, I could make that. And I did sort of make like a prototype of a vest. I used a jacket pattern and took the sleeves off, and then I added a V-neck to it, so I kind of altered a pattern that I already own, and I used some leftover cotton twill from my stash to kind of make up a sample of what I might want to make into a denim vest. And I think the twill vest is successful in some ways and not in others. I was really pleased with how I altered the front and how I finished everything in the pockets. I think it worked out really well. I do think the shoulders were a bit too broad, and if I were to use that kind of pattern that I made in the future, I would bring them in a little bit and scoop the armhole curve a little bit more, just for layering purposes. The current vest kind of sits off of a little bit wider than my shoulders, and so I probably would have brought that in retrospect. But the reason that I say I'm a little bit like disenchanted with the idea of the denim vest is I think I really liked the imagery of it. I really liked the way that I saw others wearing and styling it. And I do think that I would wear one if I had one. However, these Wrangler men's vests you can find for like $30 new. You can find a lot of them used and vintage even. So I don't know if I'm going to make this. I think in the future, if I come across one in person, I might pick one up, but it's kind of dropped down on the list of things that I want to make. Another item on my Make 9 list was actually, I think, the first sewing project that I completed in 2024, and that was to make a pair of ecru denim. Again, I've made a lot of blue denim, and I really wanted a nice sort of ivory off-white pair. and I was very successful. I actually made two. So the first pair that I made were the Anna Allen Helene jeans, and I made the high-waisted straight leg view. And the fabric was like a 13.5 ounce from, again, Fashion Fabrics Club. They have a lot of really high quality, affordable fabrics, which is why I shop from them often. The inventory is ever changing, so you kind of have to keep an eye out if you have something specific in mind. But I really love this denim. I think it's one of my favorites that I've worked with to date. It's really substantial, but it's also very soft. So anyway, I made those Helene jeans with that fabric, and then later in the year, I also made a pair of Merchant and Mills heroin jeans with the exact same fabric. So now I have a higher waisted, much more fitted pair, being the Helenes, and then a probably mid-rise, but much wider, more relaxed fit with the heroin jeans. Last up on my list of goals for the year was to finish my patchwork quilt. So I, over a year ago, started a patchwork quilt with linen scraps from garments that I've made. I cut out many little like 3.5 inch squares, and I started putting the quilt top together, and then it just got put on the shelf behind me and I didn't pick it up for a long time. And so putting it on my Make 9 list, I really wanted to finish it in 2024, and I can say that I have done so. It was a bit of a journey. It took a very long time, I think in part because it was my first quilt and also because I made it quite large. Yeah, it took a little bit of time, but I'm very pleased with the result. It's heavy and warm, but because it's made with linen and cotton, the backing is cotton as well as the batting in the middle. It's breathable, but it is very soft and heavy and warm, and I love having it on my bed when it's a little bit warmer. In the coldest part of the year, I do have like a thick down comforter that I put on the bed, and then the quilt moves into the living room and is a great couch blanket. But I love the colors. Of course, they're all colors that I chose to make garments with, so that makes sense. But I think for a first-time quilt where I kind of just wung it and figured it out as I went, it turned out really well, and I'm really proud of it. I plan to keep it in my life for many years, and I got use of a lot of scrap fabric, so that's also a big win as well. Those were my Make 9 goals for 2024. I successfully made 7 of the 9. I didn't make the vest or the linen shorts. Still have plans to make the linen shorts. So of the 9, I would say 8 were solid plans that I still stand by. Will I do Make 9 2025? I'm not sure. I have kind of shifted my planning a little bit, and I like to evaluate my wardrobe at the end of each season and kind of see what I was wearing and what I wasn't wearing, and then also make decisions about what I think I might need in the upcoming season. And I think there's some, what's the word for that? I do think that it makes sense to kind of evaluate your wardrobe seasonally and look for things that you may not need anymore, that you might want to let go of, and also things that you might want to bring in. So I think that checking in with my wardrobe multiple times a year and kind of planning as I go might be more valuable to me. I have made quite a few garments at this point. I think when I was beginning sewing and knitting, it was easy to come up with 9. I probably made 20 things a year, and I was learning and trying different patterns and trying different fabrics kind of as much as I could, time and budget affording. And so at this point, I've made quite a lot of clothing. I have built up a really nice handmade wardrobe, and I don't know if at the start of 2025 I will have a list of 9 things that I want to make. Definitely a handful of things that I want to make, but I don't know if I'll stick to the Make 9 challenge or if I'll just kind of let it be something that I watch others do. I do think it's really valuable when you're at the beginning of your sewing and knitting journey, when you're just starting to make things. It's so easy to go, I want to make these 10 patterns, I want to try these 15 patterns. And so it can be a good way to kind of whittle down what you actually plan to acquire supplies for and allot time for. I don't know. I'll have to think about it a little bit more, but I might go more towards like monthly or quarterly planning or seasonal planning instead. that might be more useful to me at this particular time in my life. Let me know if you participated in the Make 9 2024 challenge or if you plan to in 2025. I do think it's a fun hashtag to follow over on Instagram because you will discover likely lots of new creators and pattern makers, as I said at the beginning. So, yeah, I think I might shift the way that I plan my projects in the coming year, but it has been something for the past few years that has been really useful to me. So, hopefully, this was interesting to watch. I hope you're all doing really, really well and staying cozy. And I will see you in the next one very soon.